Do they have a pretty strong program right now for graphic designers?
I think probably better than what I graduated with, which was pretty chill. I went to Humboldt for it, but it was like my first semester there was the first semester that they tore out all the drafting desks and put in like iMacs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we've had an intern from CR and shit like that lately, but.
When did you graduate?
From Humboldt?
Yeah.
2005. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the technology has to be a different world than what you were dealing with.
It is, but it's also the same. It's the same program. There's just a ton more functionality and features and things.
Just more stuff.
Just more stuff. Yeah. And just like anything, it's just a tool. So if you buy a box of paint brushes, you're not Rembrandt. So it's all in how you utilize it and finding your own lane and what you build with it.
It's just the technique behind it and cultivating that skill.
Yeah. For $15 a month, you can own Adobe Illustrator and all the things that come with it. And it's the professional software that we all use, but there's a lot of people using that program that suck, so it's, yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably throw myself in that category of just buying tools and then trying to figure it out along the way.
But then that's the other thing, like with me going to school with it and everything. I mean, they teach you how to push the buttons. They show you, here's the direct select tool. Here's how you type text and manipulate it, but they don't show you how to integrate that in an artistic way. And there's no substitute just for the influences that you just are ingrained in you and the things that you gravitate towards and things that you draw inspiration from. And that's the whole thing that makes, I don't know, art or any expression what it is, I suppose. Did
they teach you how to kind of cultivate that? Or was this just something in you had an eye for, oh, this looks good, this does not?
I just kind of thought it'd be fun, to be honest. And I grew up racing and riding motorcycles. And when you go to the races where you look at the way that the bikes look and the gear matches the bikes, the whole thing, I just had an interest in that. I always, as a kid, would always, I'm decent mechanically. I can work on my bike, but I can clean it and trick it out and make it look real cool. And that was just always fun. So I think that just one thing led into the next. And then, really growing up and even in high school, we're always riding and moto and after school and all that stuff. And I grew up with it. And so I'm in that era, that CKY, all the skate videos and moto videos and things that we grew up on. So I was, whereas I told you outside, my best friend Julian at the time, who ended up, really making something of it and being pro for many years and all that stuff. And I was good, but obviously not on his level. So it was always fun to pick up a camera and mess around with it. And then that, kind of morphed into a lot of video. And I actually kind of figured out how to get college credit when I was up at Humboldt State. I made I got into all of like digital arts and how to make it a lifestyle and how to make a living out of it. When I was in school, I made this film. You can find pieces of it, or probably the whole thing on YouTube. It's called Magoo, the Danny Magoo Chandler story. And it's basically a documentary of an old moto racer. He's the 82 world champion who eventually severed his spinal cord, so became a quadriplegic. So I met this guy, down in the Sacramento area and spent years filming and traveling around with him and meeting all like the, 80s and 90s superstars of the sport, interviewing them. And basically through that whole process, kind of figured out how to run a business or figure this thing out. And did real well with it. Sold like 10,000 copies, all like DVD days. There were no downloads or anything like that, and got nominated for some awards and did some things with that. And it was financially sound and profitable. It did make money. But in the end, man, it was 3 years of my life. And if you've ever been in an editing bay, it is just, it's brutal.
It's a killer.
So laborious and just time consuming. You don't see the sun. It's just brutal. And I was taking a lot of film stuff up at Humboldt, and I had to figure out how to do the titles in the movie, how to figure out how to design the cover art for the DVD and all that stuff, and took a design course. And it was kind of like, oh yeah, this is cool. What you can do with that as opposed to film is you can be ripping on a bunch of projects at once. I'm designing this today, this tomorrow, different projects, and kind of float around a bit more and have a lot more stuff going on. And so I liked that I could do a bunch of maybe smaller projects rather than like really throw your entire waking life at one project for 3 years. So yeah, I just kind of fell into design, bought a computer and set it up in my bedroom and just, People would be going out, doing this or that. Hey, the whole crew's going to go ride today. We're going to go do this. And I was kind of like, I'm kind of on this. And then clickety, and, figuring it out on my own, really. Like I said, you can buy the tool, you can buy the paintbrushes. That doesn't make you Rembrandt. So just bought the tool and just poured myself into it to figure it out. And, came out of that design program, I think, I don't know, not that I'm awesome or still am, but like technically wise and the work that I was building at that time, I think was ahead of other people because there was a class for them, or like they were fulfilling some credits, or they had an interest in it, but I just like took to it. It was just super fun.
You were full bore. This is what you wanted to do.
Yeah. I mean, not even that this is what I want to do. It was just fun. The graphic design is like a video game, but when you're done, you actually built something. You didn't just throw it away, and especially now there's this whole other thing that we always chat about, which is that like, for a lot of designers, you sit at a computer, and that's that, like you sit at a computer, you design things, the client is happy, you send them the files, and then it ends there. Versus with visual concepts, we output, we build things, we print things, we build things in real life. So to be able to design things and then see them in their real life, see them driving around or empowering businesses in our community or looking good or, whatever it is. So it's fun to see that all the way through, I think.
Yeah, especially local community wise, because you can see it. You're not shipping a project off to New York and you never really get to see anything tangible about it. You can walk down the street and see some logos you've designed.
Totally. And as we progress, it's definitely like we are all over the place. And I do have some national clients and stuff that I'm working on selling. It's funny too that some folks will go, oh, like you working here in Humboldt, or do you have like bigger accounts? Like that would be the marker of success, is that you're up out of the area or whatever. And to some degree it is, but man, I have way more fulfillment on helping my community. And, just my heart is, my favorite thing is folks who have thrown it all on the line. They had a job. Maybe it wasn't fulfilling. Maybe they thought they could do it better. Maybe they had a boss who was shit. Whatever. Can I cuss?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can say whatever.
Motherfucker. So, in showing or being able to give people the tools to help those businesses grow and seeing and do their thing. People are supporting their families and building things and being independent. And to me, for all of the associations you may have and whatever it is, thinking about this crazy country that we live in, that's the positive to me. That's what it stands for, is that you do have that ability if you work your ass off, and it doesn't always work out, of course, that's life. But for me to be able to give folks the tools to represent themselves, to build a business on their own accord, or to put food on the plate, feed their kids, do whatever that is, whatever their passion is, they can chase that better with a little bit of help from the things that we offer as far as branding and logos and proper design. And it matters and it helps. And it really can help to, empower somebody to like see those numbers boost, or whatever. So,
well, that's what we were talking about outside, is that it's almost the marker of success is just getting out of Humboldt. You ought to everybody wants to leave. And then you go away for a little bit, or maybe you don't, and you realize Humboldt's actually not that bad of a place. There's just this mentality that,
your
sucks.
opportunities are limited.
Yeah, well, that's a fact, is it's hard to come by stuff up here.
Yeah, but also I find Humboldt to be an incubator. I've had other buddies doing similar things to me, or because entrepreneurs, people with this idea that they want to flush out, whether it's a commercial idea or something in the arts or whatever it is. If you're doing it here and you're good, people will prop you up in Humboldt. People want to see those success stories. All of those local brands, either if they're still here or even the ones who've got too big and left. Right now, my business occupies the space that was started by Yakima. And so Yakima make the racks and all that kind of stuff. And they got huge and now they're all run out of Mexico. Good job, Yakima. Dorks. But if you're doing something well here, you are not a drop in the bucket. Like if you're doing something here, people prop you up. And I think this is as good a place as any to be an incubator or to start a business or do something. We are geographically insanely isolated on that stuff. But like, if your idea is good, that doesn't matter. Drive a couple more hours, whatever, no big deal. So, yeah.
Well, that feeds into the ethos because we have so many artistic people here.
Yeah.
I think per capita, it's pretty insane.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have the flip side of that where everyone's kind of vying for something or trying to do something and it doesn't always work out. And then they're like, well, I got to leave because it's not working here.
Yeah. And that absolutely is legit and true for some people. And it's especially like, if your goal or your success is metered by, or you work in an industry where you need to have a job for some big corporation or something. I mean, now you can be on Zoom or whatever, but before that, yeah, you might have had to leave to get that important job in the city or whatever, but that was never what I wanted to do. Not that I ever knew what I was going to do. It's just always kind of been very organic, like adding services, adding functions and parts of our business that just seemed to make sense, or that people would ask about something again and again, or just kind of taking advantage of opportunities as they presented themselves and not being shy, not being sheepish, going and grabbing things. So
that's 90% of it, is you just have to actually chase it.
Yeah.
You can't just wait for it to fall into your lap, because it's never going to happen.
No, and you see that whole, that dream board, I want a Lambo and a whatever. And you got to have the vision, man. This is stupid. Everybody said this. It's not stupid, but it's cliche at this point. But nothing's going to happen unless you just are so dumb about it and ram your head up against the wall for, I always tell, so a lot of my clients are people who are they're nervous. I just started I just finished yesterday all the exports and all the branding for a new real estate company. And this is a awesome local woman who's worked for other real estate, more like corporate or national real estate. And she's like, I have this vision of what I can do on my own. And you can just see, she's like chittering. And she's like, oh, I'm so nervous. And I'm like, that's good. That blood pumping in your veins, that's you being alive. Like comfort is not the goal here. The goal is to build something, and to build something worthwhile. You're not going to be comfortable for a lot of it, I love that. I love that personality type where people just grab what they want. I had these other ones that I reference this one a lot, but man, I just fell in love with these people. I met basically a family. It's the mom and a couple of kids, and they're immigrants. They're from, I think, southern Mexico, but just wonderful. Very little English, but just awesome. And she was, they're starting a food truck, and she was communicating with me. Oh, we got this logo. Our cousin drew. We have this thing in our industry called nephew art, which is like, oh, my nephew knows Photoshop. He's got it. Well, like, probably not. It was a turd, And so I'm like, man, you're going to pour your whole life into that. And then this thing that you had some rookie design for you is the symbol of what you're going to do. That's just not good enough. So anyway, meeting these people, talking with them, the daughter is translating. And they were telling me about what they want. They're from Oaxaca, this and that. And I was just like, I'm going to jump out on a limb here. I'm going to say, you're first generation. You've probably been working your ass off, 2-3 jobs for 10, 15 years to save the money to buy the truck. And the translator, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, yes. And I just want you to know, you are it for me. You are the person that I want to help more than anything. And, they're paying me to do it. It's not like just a labor of love. Like, I got to eat too. But those kinds of things. And she was like, oh, you're going to make me cry. And I was like, let out those tears. Like, that's cool. Like, this is a place where, you can be emotional, because I know what you've put into it. You've probably worked some drag, nothing wrong with, you've worked your ass off 2 and 3 shifts for years and years and years. Your food trucks are not cheap. And she had this thing, she's probably saving up 100 G's or something like that to make this thing happen. And then you have this point where you have that logo and that what we call our brand system in your hands. Now you have that symbol. This is the thing that represents all of my work, where I want to go. This is what encompasses everything I'm going to do. And this guy just helped me to build that thing, and big hugs. And they came back and got the truck wrapped and this and that. And like, now they're killing it. I hear the food's good too. So yeah, it's all good. They were just so ideal, and they were easy to work with. And it's one of my favorite designs too. I don't know if I say who it is or not. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you could say it. Plug them. Are they local?
Yeah. So it's called La Flor Mixteca, and they're actually out at Three Corners Market. It's a black truck. It's got a big colorful logo on the front. It's like a woman in like a traditional Oaxaca dress with flowers, and it's pretty and vibrant. And that's it, man. That for me just makes me stoked, because we do the logo and the branding and the design. And like I said, we build things. It's not just like some dude sitting in an apartment who designed a thing. Here you go. Now you got to find somebody else to print it. You got to find somebody to build your website, find somebody to do your shirts, find somebody to do your aprons, find somebody to wrap your truck. Well, me and my badass team, we can see the whole thing through. And that's really what's different about our business, and just how the way that it is kind of organically grown is, I started off, doing I grew up racing motorcycles. So the whole genesis of this is bikes and bikes. And how do I make a living with what I love to do? Growing up racing and everything. And then, bought the equipment, basically I got a loan for $30,000. I was 22 or something. I had no money. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. A semi truck comes and delivers this equipment. And the dude basically who's supposed to be trading me, once again, that geographic isolation, dude drives all the way from Sacramento, kind of plugs it in and goes like, all right, you got it? I'm like, I have no idea what's up. And he's like, well, my wife's waiting in the car, so I got to go. And I'm like, well, like, you pay the money. It's supposed to come with like 2 or 3 days of training and getting this thing set up, and like nothing. He just split. So I spent 6 months just like literal tears and just crying and taking on, I've always been busy. I know lots of people. I'm second generation Humboldt. My folks have lived here and are both entrepreneurs, similar to myself in their own vein. And orders are stacking up. People are ready. This is like my little house is just covered in prints and fucked up shit. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. The cut pressure's too deep. The colors are skewed. Nothing's working. You know what I mean? My wife at the time was in nursing school, and it's just, she's the most amazing human in the world, and she'd just get off of nursing school after her waitressing job and school, and then helping me, and we're trying to figure this thing out. And it's funny, you think back, that was 2007 or so. I was right out of school and just trying to figure it out. And my dad is amazing, and builds houses and does cabinetry and all this stuff, works with his hands, and I grew up working with him, and so I know what like real work is. Like, don't get me wrong, I put a lot of hours in and I do work my ass off, but it's not labor. You're not out in the rain. I call him every day when it's raining. I'm like, you probably crawling out on some cement right now, aren't you, you old bitch? Like, how's that working out for you? I'm clicking my buttons and my coffee and my music playing. So I have no, I get it that it's at a place of like privilege or whatever, that I've built this thing, and it's, there's a certain comfort to it. And then there's always, like I said, I'm not into comfort. Like, I always want to be. We have a bunch of new things going right now that are keeping me up at night, head spinning about where the business is going, and really trying to take care of my crew and what can I do to further them along, make this a career, not just a job, yada, yada. It's deep. It's endless.
When you bought that piece of equipment and it shows up, did you already have clients where you realized, okay, this can be something, or were you just taking a leap of faith that I can make this happen?
Yeah, total leap of faith. I kind of figured it out. I was like, okay, I'm going to buy all this equipment. The payment on it's $500 a month. At the time, I was really focused on the whole racing scene down in like Sacramento, Bay Area, all the places I grew up racing. And, I basically did quick math. Like, okay, I can do a kit for a dirt bike. I can charge $200 for that. I do 3 of those a month, I can break even. So it doesn't, realistically, if I work a day or 2 a month, I can at least pay for the equipment. And I will say, man, even at that same time, there's always this voice ringing on my head. One of my buddies at the time who was just like, you bought a sticker printing machine? This is the era, this is like 2000s when everybody I knew was going up to the hill and getting rich. And everybody was out growing weed, and that was the thing. And I mean, I just have a black thumb. It was not going to work for me. And there was a turning point where my wife and she's in nursing school, and I'm kind of pursuing this. And then I'm pounding nails with my dad. And it was just kind of like, which I tell my clients now, it's like, you can't have a plan B. Like, if you have that escape route and what you can fall back on, I just think your chances of seeing that thing through are far, far less. So I just kind of jumped, and just kind of made all the mistakes and figured it out and became completely overwhelmed. I'm still overwhelmed to over 10 years later. But got my first employee back in the day, and had this kid I met randomly through the ether or whatever come into my, this back bedroom at my house and cutting stickers and helping me figure it out. And, I remember like the first like vehicle wrap job that we did, and I'm just in my driveway, and these guys brought this big box truck. It's a huge vehicle. And my wife, like I said, after her nursing school, after her day job, and then her and I standing out in the rain, trying to line up graphics on the side of this truck, So yeah, I mean, that's the American dream right there. I mean, it is. It's just like, this ain't easy. This actually kind of fucking sucks. I'm making no money, and we made it work. I mean, as to now, it's affording me a cool lifestyle. It's fun. Yeah.
Well, and it's easy to see you're passionate about it. I mean, that pays off in and of itself.
Yeah. I mean, and like I said, I've had shitty jobs, and I find that my best employees and partners and people who work for me are the ones if you've had a shitty job, shout out, like Josh is my right-hand man. He's been with me the longest. He's the absolute guru. and sensei of our vehicle rep department. If he's not there, there is no vehicle rep department. So that is absolutely his thing. I put his skills up against just about anybody in the world, man, and talk about like that little Humboldt thing. Like, we have that all the time. People being like, oh, it's Humboldt. How good can you be? And I'm like, check Josh out. You know what I mean? Shit, where was I going with that? It doesn't matter.
Just building it out.
Yeah. That's the thing. Exactly. Totally lost my train of thought. That'll happen again.
That's all part of the podcast magic.
Yeah,
you get going on a tangent, and then
Yeah.
you're like, oh shit,
Totally.
I lost where I was.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, there's this quote by Tony Robbins, and he says, if you want to take the island, you have to burn the boats. And I think
That's
that
my
applies.
move.
That's business.
Yep.
If you want this thing to succeed, you can't give yourself a way out. But that's what holds so many people back, is that is a daunting idea
It's a
that
leap
you're
of
going to
faith.
and not have any cushion. So
Yeah.
if this thing flops, which it flops for a lot of people,
Yeah.
what do you do?
And to be honest, it was made to be a little easier for me because I did do it in like my early 20s. And there's less like, dude, and I have people now in their 30s, 40s, whatever, who have kids, who have way more responsibility. I didn't have anything really. I had to make my rent at the time. Would love to keep affording to ride my bike and do all my fun things that I like to do. But other than that, there's really nobody expecting me to put food on the plate or whatever, So I have clients now who are taking that leap at a much, I don't know, it's a different place when you have kids, when you have a mortgage,
when you have
all
responsibilities.
that kind of stuff. Yeah. If we're going to shout out my clients, I love all my people. They're so cool. And a recent one that I did, and he didn't express this concern or anything to me, but I inferred it, is that there's a new little micro brewery. What's beyond micro? He's got a name for it, even smaller than micro. Nano brewery? Yeah. Pale Moon Brewing in Arcata. They're right by like Benchorong or Safeway in Arcata. This is a guy who's had just perfect jobs. He's been in the brewing industry all around Humboldt forever. And he just thought, I have this thing in the back of my head. It's nagging. It won't let me go. I want to start my own thing. He's got 2 kids, got a wife, I don't know his specific situation, but I mean, think about the debt that you incur, especially in California, and everything that you're going to have to do to try to pursue that, to make build yourself a brand and start a little brewery and everything that it takes to do that. Like, hats off, man. That's hard. Seems like he's kicking ass though, because you have talent. You call people back. You're not a total butthole to people. Like, generally, I do see it work for folks when they do take that leap, or when they burn the boats. As long as those boats are good and sunk, and you move forward and you're not afraid. Because I mean, it takes it takes not being comfortable. It takes late nights. It takes tears and blood and people yelling at you sometimes. But I would have it no other way. I often tell folks that, like, to be in any type of entrepreneur, I don't care if you paint houses, you design logos, or you have a food truck, or whatever the hell you do, you brew beer, I mean, whatever it could be, that it's a specific lens that you view life through, because you don't separate. Like, my personality is visual concepts, is the graphic design, are these clients, and there is no separation there. So you live it, and every experience and everything you see or do in your life is kind of becomes a function of that, which I would have it no other way, getting older, and this is my thing now, but and it's all I know. My mom and dad are both, it's so funny. Like, I never thought about it before, but you reflect on things more as you get older, and like, shit, I am the culmination of my mom and dad. My dad builds houses. He's an amazing in the wood shop and can build you just about anything, but it's real dad skills. Like, he could take a bare piece of land and build a house with the plumbing, the electrical, and all of those things. My mom is an acclaimed landscape designer and is kind of taking a step back from it. But when she was full bore, I mean, she had acclaim all through Northern California. But those are similar. My folks, and even my grandparents on both sides as well, who are people who never had like a jobby job. They were able to figure out, this is what I like to do. Now, how can I eke a living out doing what I want to do? So yeah, you never really think about that until you think about it, and you realize, like, oh shit, I'm the oldest born in my family, and I think the oldest is always the most similar to the parents, it seems like, or somebody told me that. So I definitely see that. Yeah, I am my mom and dad.
Were they a little nervous for you when you said, "Hey, this is the path I'm going to take"?
No, I don't think so at all. I think, like, I have the one I always think about, but I don't think so. And I don't know if it was just, I mean, in all honesty, I had probably no credit. And to get that loan, you had to show a certain amount of years in business and this and that. So I used, Samson Construction, my dad's business the lease was through him in the first place. So no, we kind of kick ass in my family. I don't ever think that they were ever like, I had never even considered that they would have been or whatever, but no, just chase the passion, I guess. Yeah.
Chase the passion, burn the boats.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I think being young definitely helps, and not having these kind of ties that can kind of hold you back, but not really. Because, I mean, if you have kids, yeah, it's going to be harder, but maybe that motivates you more because you think, 100%. I've got these kids.
Dude.
But then you're going to trade off the time with them because you got to put that time somewhere. And if you want the business to succeed, it's got to go there.
And it's that, and it's just to be an example of what ass kickery looks like to your kids. To me, I try to live out everything as awesome as I can for my daughter. I don't want her to see my example as some schlubby dude. You know what I mean? I want her to base her interests, her whatever she wants to do on seeing for how we define it. We all have our own thing that we find is important or that we base our success or our worth on. But, I mean, that's definitely something that I think about often.
I think hard work is one of those overarching themes that everyone can point to and say, okay, this is one of those qualities you want your kids to have, or you want to have. Yeah. That it's just, there's no downside to that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And, that could mean through her guys, that could mean, she loves to dance and rides her bike and all these things. That could be like those athletic pursuits or she's learning to read. You know what I mean? It's anything that you apply yourself to. There's no, I sound so cliche, but it is really how I live my life. Like, I'm not trying to do anything 90%. Anything I want to do, if I have, the time and I'm going to put myself into it, I'm trying to go for it, Yeah. And I think that's part of the success of the business. I guess at this point, people like what I'm doing. So I guess there's an eye for it or something. But there's also, I don't know. I don't think I'm inherently like, there's something about aesthetics that I get, obviously, but it's just through beating my head up against the wall for years and years and years that I found the way graphic design specifically, I find to be, it's visual problem solving. It's like, okay, I have these symbols, I have this color palette, I have this client with their quirks and their personality. How do I deliver something that's going to improve and empower their business? That I can stand behind and I want to post it as well and show that I'm proud of it. So yeah, that whole problem solving part of it is something that I think it's just that 10,000 hours thing as much as anything else, just kind of learning a trade. Just like my dad learned to build houses, my mom learned deer resistant gardening or whatever it is, how to do plantings in different environments or whatever else. You beat your head up against the wall, you make every mistake and you hopefully not do it again.
Yeah, I would imagine there were a lot of mistakes in the beginning. And then that just feeds back into, okay, I'm going to do it. You got to do it again. We're going to create it again.
And endlessly. And constantly fucking shit up, constantly. And it's funny that we've had this chat as the business grows, we're taking on more people. And like the VC boys who are listening, they're all just wonderful. And we've had this thing lately of like, I see you're about to walk off that cliff. I'm going to let you walk off that cliff. It's going to cost me a little time. Maybe this job is now delayed by a day. Client's bugging me. I'll field that phone call because it hurts more and it sticks with you more, I mean, simple thing, like the other week we were, as you try to delegate, we're so busy. I can't do it all anymore. And I shouldn't do it all. I should be focused a little more on big picture. So a little door graphic, something comes in for us that's an easier job. And I could see it getting printed and produced. And one of my guys who's amazing, he's just newer than me. So he's setting it up and I can just kind of see, it looks like it's gonna be a little small. And instead of stopping it, I just let it go through. The truck comes in, the installers go to put it on the door and go, we got a problem here. Which then incurs a whole thing of, my guy who'd be going like, oh, it's too small. Oh, I see where the error was. And I feel like when you get that sting, it resonates with you more and you're probably less like I could save the day every time, but I feel like I'm just going to keep on saving the day versus if I let him walk off that cliff, then it hurts more. And I've walked off the cliff a billion times. So,
and that's how you learned. That's how you got better is you walked off. Nobody was there to save you from walking off that cliff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that hard to kind of battle with as where you are having more employees now, the need to delegate versus, you got to where you are because you managed everything?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just part of it. It's just to be expected, And like I said, like I give so much props to, there's obviously at this point, you look through my QuickBooks and it shows you like all the names who have been through since 2007 and, do the math. I don't do the math these days. No, but, how many people we've employed, whether it was somebody who didn't work out, then was there for a month and I was like, beat it, whatever, or people who've been there for a couple of years. And anyway, you look back and it's 30 something probably folks who've walked through there. Right now, as Visual Concept stands, I think there's 9 of us and 9 of us. And everybody there is solid as a rock. Down for the team. We got to stay late. We got to do this. Everybody takes responsibility. Everybody steps up. And so, we're all very much a family and very much kind of ride or die right now, which is super rare. And talk to any local business, not even local, talk to anybody about employees and the struggles they've had and how tough it is to find good people. And, people will even say, like, we kind of have a joke where like, when, somebody's mom is in town, one of my employees' mom, they're like, oh, this is Noah, my boss. I'm like, oh, we don't really use that word. Like, not that it's some egalitarian, whatever, but like, we're just brothers, man. And everybody's got each other's back and everybody's there for the betterment of all. And it's funny as we've progressed and we're about to enter this new year and stuff, we're all like, even like I'll hear the dudes talking around the shop and like the conversation has gone from like, hey, make sure that's centered on that, or make sure those colors register properly to now being like, hey, how can we do this better? And like the conversation has gotten where I'm not always happen to be involved in like that big picture. You work in the business and you work on the business. And now all the dudes in the shop are working on the business. Like, and I'm not telling them, hey, you should do this. It's just, that's just the caliber of, I think, people that have been attracted to this weird, artsy, weird way to make a living that we've all, built together, at this point. So, yeah.
Was that kind of hard to cultivate or that just came organically?
The good people?
Yeah.
No. We've definitely had some people who didn't fit or they were turds or whatever. But, it's funny because I have this young guy right now who's just knocking on the door, coming back every week or two. Hey, when you're ready, I want a job. When you're ready, I want a job. And the best folks that I've got, I've done Indeed, I've done Craigslist, I've tried to find people, whatever. It's your buddy's buddy, the friend of a friend, a personal recommendation, or people who just think like, this is cool. I could see working here every day and not working to live, but you know what I mean?
Not just punching a clock.
Yeah. What we do all day is fun. It's stressful and difficult and it's a pain in the ass, but at the end of it, there's a lot of awesomeness to it, Yeah. Well, a lot of, 3 of my employees now are like in active bands and musicians. There's so much music and guitars and drum sets floating through the shop and motorcycles and bicycles. Chris, our screen printer, is like in this phase of collecting and restoring vintage bikes. We have bikes on the roof, bikes on the, and if you see like the ethos of the business and where it started is my love of being on 2 wheels ever since I was a little kid and then growing up racing and my parents race and my brother and everybody kind of getting into it. So there's all those just cool themes. Like I couldn't have it any better. Art, bikes, music, supporting local entrepreneurs, really, I love a side note or a tangent or something else that I find that is so, I don't know, enriching or cool about our business is there is this homogenation of the urban landscape, coast to coast. You got your Target and your Petco and your Walgreens, and those aren't our clients. Okay, our clients are the disruptive ones. Our clients are locally owned. They're the people that hopefully fill up those strip malls with things that are unique and keep that money here and just, I try to be the thorn in the side. And the more that you operate a business within this country, or especially, everybody's talking about it. I feel like it's just like always in the shop is this thing of so hard to exist as a business in California now. And I find that I love the fact that we don't fit into their box. We don't work at a big corporation where we stamp out, like we're harder to control because we're independent. And I feel like it's funny that I feel like the system with all of the taxes and the payroll and all the shit it takes business licenses and everything that we have to deal with, they try to stamp you out, man. And I mean, I don't know if it's intentional or not, or it's just the lobby of more larger industry and bigger businesses or whatever, but we're the cockroach. One of our we always do every couple of months come out with a new little shirt design or whatever. And I wanted to have this thing where it's just like this cockroach, that is the VC, or like a little dirty rat, like fucking can't kill us. Dinosaurs come and go, ages progress, tsunami, flood, meteors, and we're here, to support local, to support independent business, and to have fun along the way and not be that corporate slave. And like, I get it that you might see that as a jump from like you draw pictures on a computer for work, but that's what it feeds into to me. And I love the creative process, and I do love to draw, and I love the art, I love my crew, but like the end result of what we do is we help people create and maintain and build independent businesses across the spectrum of what crazy, weird business you might be in. Yeah.
Well, and I think if you guys were just cranking out generic logos, you wouldn't make it this far. You have to embody that ethos to get anywhere, really. Otherwise, you're just going to be creating these bland projects.
Exactly. Yeah. And I have things that have stood the test of time when I was still working in my, we have our Dropbox set up, and you'll pull up a file. I'm like, holy shit, this was made in 2013. And like, I would do it differently now, but it's still good. Like, there's some things that resonate, and a lot of our, we have I'd say at least half a dozen to 10 brands that we've created that are maybe based locally or used to be based locally, whatever, who are in Whole Foods or national or some international thing. We have some, my biggest one that I'm not really able to talk about yet, but I've just taken on the biggest branding project that I've ever done. And this will be a truly like an international motorsports racing brand, which is super cool.
Tying back into your roots.
Oh yeah, it's cool, and these guys find me through the network of racing and people. And I'm just talking on the phone, like, look, you're going to be stoked. You're finding somebody who is seasoned. I've been doing this for more than 10 years. I know what I'm doing. I have my process dialed. I'm good at what I do, but I come from your world. You're selling off-road racing tires. That's me. Like, I'm your consumer base. I'm not, like I said, like the guy who's got some amazing online profile or that looks the part online, but really doesn't know that world, doesn't know that industry. And it's just like with all my local, clients, I may work for local restaurants or breweries or like all the different things. Like, I'm there on the weekend. Like, I am your people, both from the entrepreneur standpoint and the fact that I support local as much as possible. So like, I get it, Yeah.
Does that play a factor in designing their logo for them, or how do you approach that? Just,
oh, absolutely.
They're feeding you ideas and you're kind of trying to culminate some overarching concept into a design? Yeah,
I want the one that I struggle with the most is, you're the artist, dude. I love your work. Just show me something. I
just
don't
create
like that. I don't want that as much. If you're going to come and get a logo made for me, I want parameters. I want as many specifics, because like, I do a lot of work, man. And I've done a bunch of even logos, say, within one industry. So I may be doing the two main competitors in industry, and I'm having to figure out how to stylize them in a way where it doesn't hopefully look like it came out of the same head. So the more that they come at me with, the more source material. I've been using this thing lately. I'm like, if you were going to get a tattoo, I guess some people are elite, some tattoo artists are elite, but like, ideally you're going to give them as much as possible, and I have a way of sussing that out at this point where I can be like, here's some resources, here's some things, give me everything you want, and I'll tell you what sucks, what you should move forward with. But as much as possible, helping it to be, I'm like the conduit via like their vision is seen through. Like, I'll put my touch on it, do my thing, but as much as possible, make this yours. It should have your soul in it. And once again, though, the flip side of that coin is that you're not branding to you, So I have this whole thing where it's, oh, I'm a contractor, I'm going to be building luxury homes. I'm thinking like old English, and it's black and red, and like, yeah, like, dude, like, yeah, and I'm like, who calls you the most? Is it a 28-year-old guy who swings a hammer? No, it's probably a 57-year-old, whatever. She's a grandma. She's got the money to spend. You're not visually communicating with her if you like it. You got to like it. You got to be able to drive the truck, wear the shirt. but it's communication.
Yeah,
You
she doesn't
have
know
to-
what Old English is.
No, you gotta be friendly, and I'm still learning that lesson every day about putting some of me into it, putting some of the client into it, but really just doing the research, looking at the demographic. Who are we speaking to here? How do you communicate with them? Who picks up the phone to call you? It's probably not your bro. It's probably your bro's sweetheart grandma, or who knows, whatever it is, depending on what type of industry we're serving, or I'm doing this off-road tire brand. That's not grandma. That's, you're 40, 50, you got some disposable income, you're off-roader, you like to be, whatever. So there's this whole practice of building the character. Like, who are we talking to? And how do we build them up? What do they do on the weekend? What's their income level? Where do they live? Yada, yada, yada. Try to build that person up, and then hopefully try to build something that communicates value to them and that they want to, in turn, do some business with you. Yeah.
Is that kind of the key, is building it for your audience, not for yourself?
I mean, that's a huge and overlooked part of it, and something I'm not like even the best at. Like, I still struggle with it because I know what I want to look at, and I know. And also, you as a designer, or I'm sure in any business, you learn your cheat codes. Like, here's the problem, here's the thing, and for me, I design logos in Humboldt County. I put on a tree on it. People are gonna love it. A little wave, a little tree. Oh yeah, but that's not always the move. And once you've done that too many times in any given industry, you got to figure out a new move or what. How do you build things that are unique? Yeah. But that is in essence, or one of the first things we chat about. It's like, okay. And it's different too if it's an existing business that we're doing a rebrand on or a brand refresh, we're upgrading it, versus, it's brand new, so yeah. Or if it's existing, do we need to take the audience with us to some degree? So you don't want to probably throw everything away. You want to take, okay, so let's look at your current design. It's bad or whatever, but what are the qualities that people do relate to? What are the things in that we can take forward? Is there some of that color palette we can take along with it? But then the other thing that I always tell people is that, man, just like rip the Band-Aid. I always say, like, don't like limit the possibilities by taking your current client base with you. Sure, you've reached out, you have 1,000 clients. Whatever, you know what I mean? They're going to come along with you regardless of what your logo looks like. Look at the bigger picture. Like, how many people are you going to alienate, or are you going to possibly not going to communicate with because you're stuck on this old thing? Rip the Band-Aid, move forward. And every time we've done some bigger projects around town or more nationally, they're, oh God, everybody knows us for this logo, or this logo's been on TV, or like this does have some national acclaim, or whatever. You rip the Band-Aid, 2 weeks later, nobody remembers that piece of shit pixelated old logo, and they move on, Yeah, we did, some of the best food in Humboldt. Shout out my clients on this podcast, I suppose, is Cafe Nooner. And they're awesome. And they were on Guy Fieri's show, whatever, years and years ago, picture on the wall. There's his episode or whatever. We looked it up on YouTube when we did it. And it's, they're the current owner inherited. It's like a word clip art crummy logo she inherited, but she's like, people are driving up and down the coast and they saw that show and they want to come in and eat at Cafe Nooner just the way that Frosted Tips dude did as well. And so, and she really struggled with it. Like, how do we keep it the same but similar? And, with that one, we did find a really nice vibe, kind of keeping a little bit of the subject matter that she had, but she had this Art Deco theme she wanted to remodel the storefront with, and we just ripped the Band-Aid, new shirts, new menus, new brand system, new signage, and we, in-house Visual Concepts, created the whole thing, put it all out there, and like, she's like, oh yeah, the old one, gone. Doesn't matter. People move on. Years and years, 5-6 years ago, our business essentially all but doubled overnight when I acquired what was Blackjack Screen Printing. They were a staple in Humboldt, screen printing for, 15, 20 years. Just awesome, amazing people. Really, really helped me to get going. And you talk about like, were your parents nervous when you bought that equipment and everything? And when I was a design student and I just saw this cool local screen print shop and I going in there, just a little kid, like, hey, do you guys have any design work? Do you want me to do anything for you? And they would just kick me these, whatever. They don't need this stuff done. They're just keeping me busy and kicking me a couple $100 projects here and there. And I was like, hey, I'm thinking about buying this equipment. It's like more money than I've ever seen in my life at this point. I'm in my early 20s. And they're like, oh, just do it. Oh, just do it. Just do it. If you have the equipment, you call people back, you're good at what you're not a dick, like you'll be just fine. And so they were another big part of the push. Anyway, the space we now occupy in the Creamery District and Arcata, I shared the space with them. And they're two of my best friends and they're amazing. And they're musicians. A lot of folks find screen printing because they're musicians. And thus there's this big tie-in because you're in a band. You want to
need
sell
the merch.
You need merch. You don't want to pay somebody to do it. It's punk rock. You do it yourself. And so they, Tad was printing his own shirts for the bands he was in. And then somebody said, hey, print a shirt for my band. Print a shirt for my, and then you have a business. I mean, he got good at it, but he didn't give a shit. It's not his passion. He's not a graphic artist. He fumbled his way through it in a beautiful way because Tad is awesome. Anyway, we worked in the same shop for five or so years, and they came up to me one day and they was like, hey man, how do you feel about buying blackjack? And I was like, oh, I mean, yeah, as like a pie in the sky idea, that sounds great. I would love to do it. I'm already so busy. I don't know how the hell I'm going to take on any more work or whatever. And they're like, well, because we're kind of moving and you're buying it. And I was like, oh shit. So, and that feeds back into that Caffeine Unit thing because blackjack had a really good positive name about them. They're total indie screen print shop in Arcata and supported all these cool local brands. And I was so worried about closing their phone number down, taking their name off the sign or whatever. So I made this whole signs and redid the whole front of the shop that says Blackjack Visual Concepts and had like this cohabitation thing going, kept their phone number. And I was immediately overwhelmed in the first week or two. I just yanked their phone out of the wall, took the sign down. Fuck it. It's Visual Concepts. And in that same way, it didn't matter, man. And now 5 or 6 years later, like I mean, we're all community and we share a bunch of the same friend groups, stuff like that, but it doesn't matter. They're all Visual Concepts clients now. Every once in a while, maybe once a year, something like that, somebody will call them and go, oh, I'm looking for blackjack. And I'm like, wow, blast from the past. Shout out, Tad and Alicia, they're amazing. But more than not, you rip the Band-Aid, you move on, and people come along with you pretty well. Yeah.
Is it easier working with a new client because of that? Where they don't have these attachments to an old logo or an old design, you can come at it from a fresh perspective.
If I'm doing my clients and myself the best service, I'm gonna be brutally honest, and like I'm 40, so like I'm not an old man yet, but like I know what I'm talking about, and so I usually go, oh yeah, it's good, we can work with it. Where Visual Concepts hopefully is going eventually, because we are a design shop, we're a vehicle wrap shop, we print shirts and all this stuff, so not everything that we produce in the shop is ground up. Like I'm still at the point in my career where I'm willing to do what I can do with provided graphics, but I'm doing my best work for you and I can ensure your success if I can build it from the ground up. Because generally I know it's going to be better. I'm always like, I can design you a vehicle wrap, your wrap's $2,000, your wrap's $4,000. That's money well spent. But man, how much more well spent is that money if you're not putting a janky looking logo on it? How much did you pay for that logo? You got it on 99 Designs. It was $120. Cool. You're now going to try to parlay that into a $4,000 vehicle wrap. You're wasting your money, man. I always talk about build the foundation first. The foundation is a solid brand system, right? It's not just a logo. I can explain I knew we'd get here to my daily spiel that I tell new clients, but yeah, you're asking me to provide you the best return on your investment with one arm tied behind both of our backs, because you can't polish a turd, and as I progress, I can be more brutally honest. I'm not a jerk about it, but I'll just be like, you don't want me to use this. And if you do, I'm still in the point in my career where it is a small town and we are nice and we want to figure out our pricing structure and the way that we do work so that everybody can benefit. We love everyone and work with everybody. But like I said, I'm doing you the best work if I can do the whole thing ground up, Yeah. So,
then you don't have to worry about being attached to this thing that, you polished, but at the end of the day still is a turd because you can only go so far with somebody else's design.
Well, and that's something we run into a lot, where it's just like, we have this phrasing or this differentiation between what we consider a logo versus what Visual Concepts builds, which is a brand system. A logo has one orientation, okay? You may have a logo, it's red and green and blue, whatever, it sits on a page, okay? What you don't have, if you get some cheap logo online or somebody made it or your cousin made it or wherever, came from some crowdsourcing thing, AI, whatever the hell, it doesn't show the entire environment in which it's supposed to inhabit. So maybe you have a logo, okay? Like what are the assets? Do you have patterns, typography? Do you have photos that are part of your brand? Do you have, colors? Do you have a brand book? Like, what do I do? It's hard for me to go, I got this. This is a 2022 extra long Sprinter. Here's my logo. I want my phone number on it. Go. Like, I can do that, but it's best to build out a complete brand system. Okay. And so my whole thing, and it's not, I don't see it done exactly the way I like to approach it. But when I have somebody calls up and goes, hey man, how much is a logo? I go, okay, well, that first of all, don't start the conversation like that. But secondly, I don't build you a logo. I build you a brand system. And I always tell people, like, I'm not trying to sound fancy. It's not jargon. I'm not trying to upsell you. What I'm telling you is that if I build you a logo, it's got one orientation. It's not going to work everywhere you need to work it, right? What you need is a brand system. You need typography. You need your symbol, you need your colorway, and you need to be able to take those elements and remix them and use them for various applications, okay? Say you need a letterhead, okay? Your letterhead, all the ways your logo is going to be used. And as a print shop and a vehicle rep guy, more than anything, I know how important these things are because I'm going to actually put this thing into use for you. So you need a real wide one. You need your logo, your colorway, your lettering goes off to the side of it for your letterhead, okay? Then all the online stuff is so crucial. I always, when I'm designing a brand package or a brand system for people, I give them a perfect circle iteration of their logo for their Instagram, their Gmail, their Yelp, whatever, all their online profiles. You're also, hey, maybe you get some tote bags made. Maybe you get a stamp made, maybe whatever. You're going to need a one color iteration of it. Not only that, we needed to know, how does your logo look in one color on a black background, one color on a white background? How does it look on a transparent? How does it look full color? How does it look when your logo is on the back of a hoodie, right? So I'm always like, you say you have a white van, you're not going to get a full wrap. We need to know how your logo or how your branding looks on a white van or on a black hoodie, right? So what I'm doing is developing these systems and sending people a Dropbox link, and they have a fit for every application. Versus when people get a logo made and they bring it in and go, oh, put it on my truck, put it on my shirt. I'm like, well, it's not built right. Man, you're going to run into a lot of setup fees. This logo doesn't break down into a 2-color screen print. It's going to be so expensive to get on hoodies, this and that, right? So the way that we've formulated, the way that I've built the service that we provide, it's because I know the output. I know the challenges you're going to face. I know that's not going to embroider on a hat, man. That's going to look like shit. The needle and the stitching is only going to get so small before your details fall away, or how does it work with all the other assets? How is it going to work on your, we're doing tons of real estate stuff right now. So like, how does it look on your for sale sign? Is it going to read in 2.5 seconds as the person's ripping by you going, oh shit, there's a house for you, whatever. So there's all of those applications and all the file types and all the things. So more so, and I tell people it's a bigger, like I could make you a logo, which I'm not even really interested in doing anymore because I just know it's going to be a remodel. I grew up building houses. A remodel is a bitch. It's never going to be perfect. It's always going to be, well, we kind of got it there, or yeah, it works there pretty well. If you go through us and you build a brand system, you are now never going back to the drawing board. There's also this thing that we see in our industry where you get too many cooks in the kitchen, right? So one guy, which is another reason we've built the way we do it. You have one person who builds your website. In the past, you have a logo and a graphic designer, somebody does your truck wrap, somebody does your website, your stationery, whatever. And everybody wants to throw their little ego on it. Or like, oh, look, my little calling card. I threw a drop shadow on it. I added zebra stripes in the background. I don't give a shit, whatever. But the more you do that, the more your brand loses its consistency in the way that it's delivered to people, right? So our little slogan is Nike doesn't change the swoosh. They don't change it. It's fucking there. They have built that thing over 30, 40 years, whatever, of associations and endorsements and Jordan and this and that to where you know what it means, but they're never going to take it through a drop shadow. They're never going to stretch it or skew it or screw it up, So when my clients come back to me 3 or 4 years, like, this logo has been very successful. We've built this business. We're doing great. We're thinking this year we might do this. I'm like, nope. Like, if you're sick of it, other people are probably just starting to get it. So like, it's a long game, a logo and a brand, it should be 5 or 10 years now. Like, styles change, my work evolves, everything changes. You might need to pivot or make some moves or simplify or whatever, but that's the basis of it. Figure out what you can build that can represent you across every possible touch point and then just hammer it home through nauseating repetition. Yeah. That's
Well,
what we
this
say.
idea of building a brand, I really like that because I think that's what most people are looking for, and they just are using logo as a filler word for that.
Yeah.
Oh, I want a logo,
Yeah.
but they don't really just want the logo; they want the whole brand
System.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they want everything behind it.
Yeah. We have this way of looking at it that I stole or repurposed from one of my main senseis. I hope he listens to this, whatever, is Dan Antonelli at Kick Charge Creative. They're on the East Coast, and they do a bit of what we do in a different way. I'm not at all copying. We do our own weird thing up here in the North, the Pacific North. But he has this way of looking at it. He's a bicycle enthusiast as well, where he shows you this bicycle wheel, right? The centerpiece, the hub, that's your logo, okay? Your brand is the wheel. All the spokes coming out are all your touch points, your social, your vehicle wraps, your signage, your website, uniforms, apparel, blah, blah, blah. The logo dictates the colors, the typography, the feel of it. And then all those touch points moving out are all of the things that influence and add. That's the brand. The brand is all of those touch points. The logo is the center of it, but the logo is not the brand. And even I take it a step further because they really do create a mascot, a logo typography. They're these guys that I've learned so much on are absolute masters. But I even do it a little bit differently because I'm like, do you give them, when I speak with them, I'm like, do you give your clients like a circle for their Instagram? Or like, not necessarily, but I just know that's so crucial, man. And it's fun. It's a flex to have a cool looking little symbol you put on your Gmail or whatever, but it's crucial, man. I mean, I'm doing my job giving them the least amount of decisions, right? When it comes to the application of the brand, because like I said, the more cooks in the kitchen, the more decision-making has to be done, the less consistent that brand ends up showing itself. So rather than going, oh, well, I learned a lot of this through the cannabis boom the last 10 years. I'd create a logo and they go, cool, man, this year we're coming out with pre-rolls. Long, skinny, funky little thing I get to use. So through that, there's experimentations. I'm kind of like, well, you're never just going to walk out of here with something that doesn't fit everywhere, So I always lead off a new brand consultation with this talk rather than like, what do you want it to look like? There's the art of it, there's the rendering of it, there's the style, who are you communicating with? But I find myself showing them or explaining the importance of this whole brand system thing before we even go, okay, now what color do you like? You know what I mean? That's all crucial. But yeah, showing them kind of the roadmap of where we're going. And when we're done here, for the money you're spending, you are not going to have like a logo. Maybe we'll say, yeah, this is our preferred one, which is like the lettering and then the logo sits centered up on top. But that's good on the back of your hoodie. But on the front, you might need just the one color of it, just a wide one or a tall, whatever. How does it look going down your sleeve? So the way that we can build these systems to where there is very little decision making. Like my clients own all their stuff. They're not under any. They normally do use us for everything, but they don't need to. So I want to know that when I built your brand system, a part of that is I laid out your hoodies and templates and everything in a usable file format so that you get them made online or another one of our competitors, somebody else, all love, all good. But don't let them fuck it up. You know what I mean? Like we've set a foundation. Let's build the house on top of that and, try to deploy it in a consistent way.
Yeah, that consistency seems like it would be key. Because especially if you relate it to framing a house. If you frame it out and then somebody comes in and says, no, I want to move the living room to a different spot or I want to rearrange the plumbing, then you're never actually building the whole house because you're constantly rearranging the structure of it. You got to have a foundation.
And the original vision of it is blurred. And that's the thing, all of that. Yeah. And and traditionally a bad way to go about getting a brand is to come and see, which weird because I think we are good at what we do. But like in the past, I would say, don't start a business, go to a vehicle wrap shop and say, make me a logo because they're vehicle wrap guys. They're not a brand agency. Don't go and go, hey, I'm starting a business. Don't say that to your screen printer or your embroidery guy. I mean, like maybe in special cases like us, yeah, we can actually do that because at the core of what Visual Concepts is, it's a brand agency. And then we build shit too. And it's just that function of making something that can survive and have enough work to do in a small town. So I just started adding on these outputs and these services as they seem to make sense. It could make a little bit of money. But brand first, then application, like Yeah, you see a lot of crap that's like, well, that's your logo. Oh no,
A
that's
lot
just
of
what's on my.
crap.
Yeah, that's just on my truck. No, that's not I don't have a logo. I just put it Arial bold, red lettering on my truck. Dave's Plumbing, So, yeah, it's all about where you're trying to go. I'm like, hey, that's fine if you're chucking a truck and you're just doing your thing and you'll sell the truck when you retire or whatever. But if you have bigger goals, you want to sell it, you really want to take over some market share. This is not an act of hubris, to have an awesome logo, brand system, trucks that kick ass and that people recognize. You bought, say you're, I don't know, if you're any tradesman, there are tools you need to complete the job. You bought the new Milwaukee drill, whatever. Okay, don't think about this as like some fluff. This is something that's going to put that Milwaukee drill to use. The more outreach you can do, the more that you can do to stand out in the crowd and be disruptive, the more work that comes. You can hopefully add employees. There's that whole idea of you turn the crank and the money comes out of your business. The more you can pass that crank to somebody else, they crank it, you go ride your dirt bike. I love working. So that's never really been my goal to like remove myself, but that is in some industries and some things, that's what folks want to do. And this should be seen as a means to an end to do that. And it is awesome and fun. And it's the flag that I said about the folks from Oaxaca. Like, this is the flag that you fly. You work your ass off to build a business. You have to be tireless about it. And this is that symbol to me that encompasses that work and that dedication and effort you've put in.
And who wants a shitty flag?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I don't know. I just think people are short-sighted and whatever. And I've had this also reoccurring theme of like, oh, my wife dragged me in here, which is classic. Dude, I get it, man. Like, I'm not a fluffy dude, whatever. I just wear black, plain, simple shit. I'm not trying to be too flashy or whatever. But there has been this thing in a couple of projects lately where he's like, I don't really need a logo. And the wife is like, honey, like, I want our business to have something cool, to have something, whatever. And by the end, dude's like, big hugs, love it. This is so cool. So when you see the work and I think that you're just dealing with some local dude. Like, I'm not in the beret. I'm not like some like artsy fart, whatever, not that that's no problem with whatever people express themselves or whatever. But like, I grew up in the trades. I grew up pounding nails and digging holes and playing in the mud. And I think it's kind of cool or refreshing to say, oh, it's just like some local people who know what the fuck they're talking about. It can help me build this thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's important to have that. I think, a while ago, I went on a Fiverr just to have a logo made up because I was like, I need something for the podcast. It doesn't have to be super crazy. I contracted some guy out, fed him some details, and he made me I don't know who was behind it. They made me a logo of a blonde girl sitting on a pink couch, and the couch was riding a wave. And it was in a pink triangle. And I just remember looking, and I spent a couple $100 on this, and I remember looking at this thinking, what?
Yeah, that's
what
awesome.
I still have it. I saved it. Maybe
Keep
on a
guessing.
t-shirt design, I'll crank that out. But I remember looking at this and just thinking,
what the hell happened?
What is what?
Well, there's a language barrier first and foremost, and there's also the thing that, man, I don't like whatever, because like sometimes folks I got a wait list. So sometimes folks don't have the money or the need, or they can't wait. They need it now. And like, sure. Like I said, I am all love. I don't shit on anything. There's Fiverr, 99 designs. They suck, but what that is the outsourcing of my world. And it's people in, countries getting paid cents on the dollar. And their whole thing, it's like a puppy mill. So what they do is they are constantly bidding on these projects. They don't get paid unless they win the contest. And so what that incentivizes is you're throwing out a lot of half-ass shit. And also what incentivizes is a lot of plagiarism and a lot of regurgitated crap. So they may have a folder that says like plumbing logos, and somebody goes, I want a pipe wrench and it's blue and there's a guy holding it. They probably have 50 iterations that they've used for 50 other different. And so they're just remixing and using the same shit.
Just pulling elements, throwing them together.
And any graphic artist or anybody uses that. It's part of your bag of tricks. But like everything and every design and everything that I do is absolutely from the ground up. It's all custom. And you're not going to find any element of a design that I do used anywhere else, because it's all out of my dome. It's all fresh and original. Especially when you work primarily in a small market like we do. I can't do that.
You wouldn't make it.
Well, it wouldn't make it, and it'd be so obvious that you're a fraud. But if you're on a global scale and you're working for 99 Designs or Design Pickle, these are all the same, And I mean, yeah, that's got to be a cutthroat way to make a living. Like, sure, once again, like you're not working in the salt mines. Like it could be worse. You're in your cozy and your Adobe Illustrator, and it is fun. But like, yeah, it's just a quick way to get a bunch of generic stuff. And the whole idea of what we do is disruptive branding. The whole idea. So here's another thing that's from Dan Antonelli, which is that like, a podcast, everything like your referral network, it's maybe not, but like, okay, say you're starting, which a lot of our work is, your service industry, you do HVAC, you do whatever. The most expensive logo is the cheapest logo because we have this idea in any industry where people ask us like, hey, like, how much do I need to spend on marketing, right? How much do I need to spend to get people to pay attention? Well, the answer is if you have a shitty logo, a lot, because it's not memorable. It's not sticky. It's not sticking and resonating in the viewer's mind. That's your messaging, your tagline, your logo, your lettering, and everything that you do. So if you, once again, build the foundation. So if you've built a kick-ass brand, a solid foundation, something that people are proud to wear, it takes a lot less dough and effort and advertising dollars to make people give a shit. Versus if you have some boring generic Fiverr design, you're cramming it down people's throats before they care. The big companies, say I do a local plumber and I also do Roto-Rooter. I mean, like, probably what Roto-Rooter looks like. It's red and blue and it's a little pipe, whatever. It's not exciting. It's just they've been repeating that because they have money just to blow, right? So what that means, what that represents, but you only know that because they have a big budget and because they're throwing it at you. Versus us little guys, we have the room to be more artistic, to flow, to make changes, to pivot quickly. The same as any small business, that's the benefit that we have. We don't have the capital, but we can be personal. You can hit them with some things that are that resonate and that stick. So you don't have to spend nearly as much money, And a whole thing with what we do is, the vehicle wraps, which more or less I fell into doing, man. Like I grew up racing motocross and did bike graphics, and somebody said, hey, put my logo on my truck too, right? I'm like, yeah. Figure out what material it is, how do we set it up, what do we do? And then, now we're way down the road from that. But that's just another form to me of investing in yourself. So you could do, and no slander against anything you can do, especially the local stuff, TV, newspaper, radio, billboard, subscription-based, right? You're never done paying. For even Google, which is such a powerful thing to put your ad on Google, you will absolutely see a return on that. But you are paying, if it's a low rate, you're paying month to month forever. Wrap your truck. Cool. Bigger out of pocket right off the bat. But holy shit, now you're paid one time. That's going to be on your truck for 5 years, something like that. And the return and the possible interactions that you have each month that you stay on it, your cost per impression goes down and down and down as the more and more people are viewing that thing. You wrap a truck, say you go all out, like the most expensive, Sprinter or vehicle that service people use, you go all out, you maybe $5,000, which is a chunk. But that's 6 months on a billboard. Billboard, you could go right. Sorry, Jeff, at All Points, my best buddy who owns all the signs and everything. I mean, that's once again, like we look at the numbers and what that produces, and it's incredible. But you may get a billboard on the corridor. You may take Old Arcata Road back and forth all day long and never, ever, ever see that. But everybody, at least people who are trying to spend some money, they all drive. And so by investing in vehicle graphics, or even better yet, a full wrap, it's just the best signage ever. And especially they're cracking down, and, signage and everything like that is very limited, square footage in different cities and municipalities and blah, blah, blah. Wrap your trailer and go throw it out in front of the farmer's market, park it the night before. I mean, like, there is no regulation. There's nothing you can do. Don't put anything offensive or mean or whatever. But other than that, I mean, it's just a wonderful way, both from a way to interact with possible, people trying to give you some money. It's sticky. Yeah.
Yeah. If you create something good, it's less work. It might be more work up front in terms of cost.
But isn't that life? That's life, Yeah. We've been talking in the shop, that whole thing. It's like choose your hard. Like
Choose your hard.
going to the gym is hard. Obesity is harder. Like there are all of these things that you can choose and which way you want to do it. But I mean, that's just one of those things that comes up all through life, which is just like, if you just do the work up front, man, instead of cheaping out on this or that, you go for it, you go all in off the bat. And I mean, I don't know, like I've been doing it long enough, doing this line of work long enough to where I just see the hugs and the love and the people coming back like, holy shit, I never expected, like, I did a painting contract, which kind of gives me warm, fuzzy vibes all the time when I think about, I'll throw them out there. It's Weyhausen painting. Just awesome guy. Worked for another local painting contractor, one of the bigger ones, and it was just not appreciated or whatever. It's time to do his own thing. Time to move on. All good for whatever reason. He's got kids, didn't have a lot of money to invest. We figured out a budget. How can we best use the money that you have? We built him a cool logo. Did him a run of shirts, business cards, job signs, and did a partial wrap on his trailer. He went out. He already had a job booked, so he went out. It was in I think City Bray, and posted that trailer up in front of his job. Somebody drove by and goes, "Oh, looks like you guys are doing a good job." There's like, "Yeah, sure." And he's like, "Come and give me a bid on this." Anyway, long story short, a $2,000 vehicle wrap turned into an $80,000 painting gig on the first day, and he came in just, dude, love, hugs, you know what I mean? And that's more the norm at our shop than anything else, which is just like, I mean, think about that investment, that return, all in. You got the logo and some signs and a run of shirts. I mean, you're in less than $5,000 all the way across the board, and you just got an $80,000 contract. Like
in a day.
Stoked. Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of other ways that can get that out there. Like, Google and all that stuff is catching up, and it's great. I mean, like, by all means, leverage those as well. But, yeah, a solid brand, man. It can do a lot for you.
Yeah, you're not getting that with Fiverr. That's not happening.
Oh, no, bro. And like I said, they'll build you a logo, and if shit, it might be good. I haven't seen many, but it's funny too, because I get a lot of those. Like, I can see right off the bat, dude. If somebody's like, "Hey, I'm going to send you my logo. I need a quote on 48 shirts." I'm like, "Yeah, man, sure. Awesome. So send it over." And you get it because you see the format, you see the way it comes across, and I can know almost immediately. But then when you open that thing up, right, and you look at the back end of the file, how it's built, how does this person put it together? And it's like, you can see the difference of, obviously I'm a believer in compensating people for their work. And so you see all the stuff that's just traced or bootlegged, or you could see where like the font will be like it looks okay when you look at it that big on the screen, but you blow it up or you start to separate it for a screen print and you see all the janky angles and the corners and the imperfections. And I'm like, dude, I know you're a good, let's say plumber. I don't know. I know you're a good plumber. Does this really gonna represent your brand promise? Or we do lots of packaging design and stuff too. So you have this amazing food bar, chocolate bar, gummy bear, I don't know, whatever you do. You're a brewery, a deli, I don't know, whatever. Like, does this set forth your brand promise? Like, if I see this design, does this give me an indication about the service or the taste or the quality or whatever I'm going to get when I use your service? And if no, then like, dude, I mean, either good luck to you or try harder, do better, reinvest. Yeah.
Why do you think people are more willing to skimp when it comes to the logo? Because you think, I mean, for me, my big barrier is equipment, right? So I'm always investing in the next level of equipment, trying to get better because you can see the tangible result of that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until recently where I realized, I need to pivot some of that energy towards branding and just branding in general, online, in person, because you can build a great product, but if people don't ever see the product, what's the point?
Yeah.
It's not real at that point.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think it's just, I mean, I always tell folks, like, unless I did this stuff, I would have no idea. I just think it's a lot more obvious to be like, I need to put roofs on houses quicker, get that new nail gun. It's just very A-B, like,
it's tangible.
Causality, right? It's just like, I need to go faster. I bought the tool. It made me go faster. I don't know. Or yeah, I just don't think it's leveraged like it should be or like it will continue to be. And like, all that is, man, is just more power to my clients and I. Because you keep being, it's a complacency. That's everywhere in the world. You all keep being complacent. My clients are going to go, you know what I mean? So they're going to utilize our service. And what I swear, man, comes in to be like in the end, nominal investment. You know what I mean? Even if I really went for it on my, I'm pretty darn affordable for the offer, for what we offer. But I have literally zero cases of anybody being like, "Oh, that was a good move." You know what I mean? Or this has helped my business to grow or look professional or, whatever. And just having a shop like ours that, like, I get it. You get it. Like, you own a local business, bro, you are pinned wide open. There's not a lot of time. So to have a trusted partner like us, and like, I don't have to go fish around to save $10 on the internet for a business card. Noah, Bennett, boys at VC, just here, hook up my business card, do my shirts, do my truck, do my website. We can do all that in-house and just, they can get back to doing what they do well, trust the expert. And I do that in everything. Like if somebody's building a house for me, somebody's building a web, I don't know, whatever the hell people are doing for me, working on my truck, I'm like, I will stay out of your way. Go for it. If I trust you to see it all the way through. And, I think that is a benefit of what we do. They don't have to like take a logo they got on Fiverr and then try to figure out Canva on their phone to make a business card that looks legit and then outsource it and it comes back pixelated and it's a piece of shit, whatever. So just by like kind of having us as a partner, we're able to really like get all those touch points dialed. Yeah.
That's almost one of those cliffs that people have to walk off at least once. And then you get burned and realize, okay, let's do this the right way. But everybody wants to take that easy way, the first one. Let me just go, it's like $100 on Fiverr. Yeah. Let me go just make this. Sure. It's going to be fine. Yeah. And they're not going to give me a
surfer
person.
Chick that has nothing to do with you. Like that. Maybe cool, whatever, And then there's like the way that it looks and who it communicates with, but there's just like so much of it is the technical, and the way that you build it. And like any logo from classic ones, things created in the heyday, the 50s and 60s, where before the computer garbly gooked it all up, when people were on drafting tables and building these amazing works of art, those fundamentals ring true, both in color theory and both structure. If somebody's made you a logo and it doesn't have a one color version of it, that's a turd, man. It's not going to work. It's just, there are fundamentals. I don't care. Like we talked about the tools, right? No matter the tools, if you have the latest Adobe Illustrator or Creative Suite, or you're using something old, or you're drawing it with a pencil, it's all about the usability of it and the fundamentals of design and color theory since the beginning of whatever until now are the same. That hasn't changed. Yeah. Usability.
Yeah. And is the person behind the screen on Fiverr or whatever platform, are they thinking about that, or are they thinking, I can crank this out in 2 hours?
Yeah, man. I mean, from my experience and like whatever, not to generalize, but like people are scraping by. I mean, it's hard when you're doing who knows? I don't know. I'm not on that end of it, but like you're doing a large percentage of your work at no financial benefit to you. You may be throwing designs out. If you're really good, maybe you land, who knows? I don't know. Maybe you land in 50% of them or something. I don't know. I don't know. But like, I'm not doing shit for free. And that gives me that's a reason to knock it out of the park every time and make everybody who goes through our doors, who utilizes us, they're stoked. It's a very small percentage of people who are not just, come through the shop, you get a job done, become straight up friends. You know what I mean? And cohorts and people who understand what that investment is and what it takes to operate an independent business, under any circumstances, let alone now, harder than ever. The percentage of like wealth that like got out of the little guy's hands through pandemic and whatever, like, yeah, man, there's a lot of them that have gone away, and those that remain, man, you got to be running a, tight ship. And so that's what it takes. And there's a brotherhood, sisterhood. There's a community of people who kind of get it, and I love those people. Yeah, those are my. They come in and I meet them like, you're my people. Like, that's awesome. You've got balls, and resolve and work ethic and grit, and those are the characteristics that build things that last. If it's art or if it's a business or just relationships and friendships and whatever it is, those are the tried and true. Yeah.
That's almost how you have to frame it. Are you building something that you want to last, or do you want to just build something quickly?
Yeah, you want it now? Yeah, and I've had, and like I'm catching up a little bit, man, but I have nothing. There's no outsourcing my brain. So I have a little bit of a queue. I have a little bit of people kind of waiting, give me a little down payment, give me a couple $100. I'll call you as soon as I'm done with the guy who paid before you. And we'll get it going. And they're like, oh man, you're booked out 2 months or 3 months. And I'm like, how long are you going to be in business for, bud? Like sacrifice the 2 months of, I don't have a cool business card for the 10 years of magnified earnings after that, or just look in the part. Yeah. And it's just like I said, rip the Band-Aid. Like, you will never remember that you waited a couple of months. I have when I'm a local, like one of the most awesome local kind of heritage, like pizza joints that I'm working for now. And I've known them since I was a kid and they're awesome. And I was like, I'm going to get you in line. And I see him around. It's Paul's live and he's the man, dude. And their food's it's just classic Humboldt, New York, whatever. It's awesome. And I kept seeing him and he's awesome. But in that fun way that buddies mess with each other, like, bro, where am I at on your list? And I'm like, dude, you don't know how stoked I am to take this on for you. It's not fair to the other folks who've been waiting. But now we were just texting last night. He's like, I just love everything. We're about to roll it out. I just love everything you guys have done. And I'm like, man, I sincerely hope that it makes you happy. It drives people to your spot, helps to create the culture of your spot, and that you don't miss the couple of months you waited. I'm like, no, you wait for things that are good, Yeah, you wait in line at the best restaurant, whatever, so, yeah, it's cool. Yeah.
That's a great spot to be in where your catalog speaks so loudly that people are willing to wait 2-3 months because they know that the quality and the expectation of what they're going to get is worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, dude, like I want it now. I get it, but
you're willing to wait. You know it's going to be good.
You're not building a logo to use for a year. You're building a logo that you're going to sell as an asset, the part of the company when you're old. It's crucial. We could, reference many of my clients who are like, yeah, this was worth the wait or worth the investment or worth what I thought was complicated or I thought it was fluff. I was like, fuck, dude, I don't need that. And like, I sit down, I explain it to them, like, this is where you're going to see. And here's the examples of the benefit and where people have gone with it. And yeah, it's important. It's cool. Yeah. Yeah. And then, and then there's, go ahead.
No, go.
Oh, I mean, so there's like, there's this whole part, there's branding. And there's all of that side of the business, which is what we've based it on and what I've just learned and taught myself. But then the whole other part of the business that to some degree is not, but I mean, it's a little quieter, is just all the restyling. Josh and Chris and the guys who are in the vehicle wrap department, a good chunk of their work, it's not putting logos on cars. It's the application of vehicle wrap as an alternate to paint, right? So if it's anything from full color change wraps to stripes or chrome deletes, do a lot of that kind of stuff. For all of those things, that whole world, the whole vehicle wrap world, which is once again just something I just organically learned about and figured out over the years. I mean, that stuff's amazing. And Josh and Chris and where their skill level is at being in Podunk Humboldt, man, they are incredible. And they've done some projects, a couple of them I can think off the top of my head that like are really cool and that they mix the digital end and then just the hand-eye coordination. And you're working on somebody's project car, new Tesla, Ferrari, whatever the heck it is, brand new $100,000 F-350, whatever it is. People have invested highly in these things, and to be able to, trick them out or protect them or add the flair or something unique to them, those are like really cool too. And really something that's, oftentimes I'm less involved in. And I see myself as almost like a conduit. We've built this good name. People know the shop, but you come in for a quote on wrapping your hood carbon fiber, taking your WRX and making it a hot pink or whatever you're going to do. You talk to Josh, I mean, I could kind of give you an idea, but Josh is my right-hand man. He's my brother. He's been with me for 10 years, something like that. And like, when he first came on, I trained him. I kind of said like, hey, here's how you do, here's the vinyl, here's the properties that we have as you go. And then like, it was not long after that, like I suck. Like if they're on a real time crunch, I can go back there and I can still wrap a car. It's not going to be what Josh would do. There's some applications where it's okay and I can get by, and like, they're just so booked, man. We're so busy. So I can get in there and help a little bit. And it's kind of cool to get out of the computer chair and go back there, and they call me a nerd and say, go back to your computer, you nerd, whatever. But yeah, their skill set and all of that stuff that they do is really cool.
So you guys are doing vinyl wraps just in general too, not necessarily tied to a logo or brand or anything.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's equal parts customization and branding, and sometimes it's a mix of both, which is really fun. But sometimes it's like, hey man, I built this drag car, whatever. I want it to be sparkly orange, da 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 da. So if you walk into our shop and you look at the front, like reception desk, we have color swatch books, right? So it's like either we have the two big digital printers upstairs. We have these giant printer cutter machines. They can print up to about 4.5 feet wide. And so that's what we use to do anything. That's obviously it's printed. It's got a logo in it. But then as well, we have all of these swatch books that we are using just for customization of vehicles and lots of other things. Whatever you can stick some stuff on. What's cool about what we do as opposed to paint is that it's removable. You could say, do my Mercedes, this is an actual job, do my Mercedes in crazy high gloss sparkly pink, knowing that you might not sell it looking like that. So you keep it on there for 5 years, whatever, you heat it up, peels off completely clean, and it's back to stock. The same thing, you buy a brand new truck, and not as much these days, RIP, Humboldt weed scene, but like you buy a $80,000 F-350, you're going to be driving up to the property. Man, you could wrap that. And when you wrap it, you may be $4,000 deep. How much more do you think you'll get out of the resale if it is all brush scratched and looks like shit versus if it looks like it was old man garage kept, you know what I mean? So there's all of that kind of stuff that we do too. There's stripes and customization. And like I said, we do a lot of the easy, like little, you fit them in between the bigger jobs or things like chrome deletes. So a lot of, piping around the windows or grills or bumpers and everything. And I don't like chrome either, but sometimes that's especially through COVID and everything, like there's only so many makes and things available. So you might just have to supply chain, whatever. I didn't want it with the chrome. Take it to Visual Concepts. We'll get rid of that chrome, that kind of stuff too. So we are doing a lot of that kind of work as well.
That's pretty cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And something that once again, Josh has built that. He's my brother. I have nothing to do with it, So I kind of, in those regards, we're partners because I'll be like, okay, what did we put into this? I'll take my little share of that because I am paying for the insurance and the shop and everything. But the rest, dude, I'll take a finder's fee. It's you. You know what I mean? Those kind of things. And so those are cool. Yeah, that kind of stuff is really growing. And it's nobody else who does it. We're the only ones for hundreds of miles. There's a shop that we network with who's great in Santa Rosa. There's another really awesome shop up in Grants Pass. Other than that, there's a shop in Redding. So there's nobody else here. And there's some other littler shops, not littler, but I mean, they don't do what we do. They're here in town, and once again, all love. We network with everybody. We're friends with everyone. If not a right fit for us, we'll send them to you back and forth. But what Josh and those crews, what Josh and those guys offer in that vehicle wrap department is pretty special. Talk about some big smiles and some cool stuff, cool projects going out of the door every day. Yeah.
I didn't really think about it until you brought it up, but the era of those grow dozers has kind of just evaporated. You don't see a lot of those driving around anymore.
Yeah.
End of an era.
And really, when it comes to what I do in branding, man, I mean, I grew up in this scene. My family and friends, I mean, that's I grew up in it. It's my world. So I have a lot of love for that world, and the folks up in the hills, whatever, especially is still doing it. But, so I learned how to brand and how to make things like this. I always said, and I don't really say anymore, but through the height of it, man, 2018, how many logos I did that ended in FARMS, like farms? I had this, not even a joke, but a realization that I don't think there's anybody in the world who's done as many logos and typed FARMS in the bottom than I did, in the whole thing when everybody needed a brand. And, I mean, luckily, some of them are still around, the ones who that brand became an asset for them and how they could communicate to the end user, or even if they were going to make themselves some jars and some pre-roll labels and stuff, even if the goal was never to, you're never going to be big enough to make it statewide or national, where the hell we're going with this thing. But it's just like having a nice business card to look. It just shows that you're a pro. Shows you show up on time. You play the part. You've invested in your own product and in your brand. And those things, I feel like, even if it was just a demo, even if you're going to an event, you're never going to make any money selling eighths, whatever. But you have your display and your tent and your jars and everything's packaged. It just shows that you're a professional, So a lot of those things, I think, were beneficial. And like I said, taught me how to brand. And what's been cool for me since then is you have these people in your life, the doom and gloom, or the people think it's over, fuck, everybody's screwed, this area is a ghost town in 1 year. I don't know. I'm much more sunnier. And I never saw that. And really what it turned in for my business is a lot of folks coming going, dude, you guys struggling? You did all the weed labeling for 10 years. How are you doing? And I'm like, I mean, it's not that I don't miss it, but it's just I just seamlessly, we just moved on without trying to. I wasn't like, ooh, I got to go foster up new kinds of business. It just flowed. It just came in that way. And a lot of our clients who were doing that, or folks and family and friends who were in that world for so many years, now it's just a diversity of interests, a diversity of projects. I'm doing so many different kinds of things and businesses and things that I just had no, experience with prior. But when one industry falters or goes away, or who knows where we're at, they all found out something new to do. And they all knew me from those days or whatever. So I'm doing all kinds of, it really kind of like opened it up as far as the type of work that we're doing, which as a designer is like freaking awesome.
Well, and everybody needs a brand.
Yeah. And I love about our work, jumping in and learning a little something about the world. Like, too, I washed dishes at Tomo when I was a kid. Okay. So I've worked in the food service for like a summer or two or whatever, but I don't know anything about owning a restaurant. But I work with a lot of people who do. And so peering over that and like seeing what they're up to, how that works, or all the different kinds of industries and things that I get to jump in their world and learn a little bit about what they do in order for me to service them better. And it's just interesting. I just love small business and how people make it work. So that's a totally like a thing that I really enjoy about our work as well. Just kind of like, wow. So that's what it's like to own food truck. I don't know, whatever,
You get to peer into these different worlds.
Yeah.
See how they function.
And just see how it's all the same and it's all different. Like they're like, you draw, like it's so weird what we do. It is. It's like nobody does that. You draw on a computer and you're making a good living. Like the fuck. Yeah. But in that same regard, it's interesting for me to see how other people and how their brains have put together their niche or whatever, which is totally cool. And like, also, there's that cross-pollination. You see, oh, okay, this is how they've problem solved for issues in their business, and how can I apply that? I don't make sushi or whatever the hell it is, but I can take something of what they've done and apply it to our workflow and see how we do and everything like that. Yeah. It's interesting. And
it's a cool job. I mean, just the day-to-day, everything changes. Yeah, you're kind of doing the same thing, but you're also doing something completely different with each job.
Yeah, or you're doing a hair salon, then you're doing a restaurant, then you're doing tons of stuff for Cal Poly, then you're doing this and that. And it's like, it's very much, everything has its own vibe with a similar, it's all going through our brains, you know what I mean? But how do you get in there? How do you develop branding, or how do you market or develop signage or whatever that's going to appeal to a certain demographic? That's not me. And I think that's awesome to try to figure that out. And that's really where I've, once again, like really try to empower the client to like, give me the inspo, here's resources, here's things you should look at. And then, give me that direction so that I can build something for you. Don't build something that's just me, because it's going to look like the logos that I do. It should look like you through my brain, whatever.
You're the conduit. You're kind of
100%.
pulling everything together.
I use that all the time. Yeah. Yeah. I can put it together. I can make it technically solid. I can show you what it's going to cost and how we can do your hoodies and wrap your truck and do all that cool stuff. And then it can build your website and this and that. But yeah, I want it to be a function of my clients, their brand promise, their personality, but like tailored for the brand expectations that their clients are going to have. Yeah.
It's crazy that all of that kind of just came organically from doing motocross.
Motos.
That just, this is the path.
Yeah. I mean,
did you ever want to pursue motocross professionally? Was that ever?
No, I don't. I'm not that good. I just have fun with it. And even seeing it now, I think it's cool to have this. I think it's cool just to keep that as fun, because there is a thing, that it can become a job, and design hasn't really become that for me sometimes, but not really. But it is cool. And even like I said, I bought the initial printer, and the whole vibe, the whole thing was tricking out race teams and doing that whole thing. Our area is geographic. Like I said, we don't even have a racetrack here. There's not much of a scene here besides me and my buddies or whatever. But like, no, it's cool to go race and go ride, and I'm just having fun,
Just keep it the hobby.
Keep it the hobby. And I, once again, to be straight up, I never had the talent to do that anyway. Like, I can get around. Like, I've been riding my whole life, so I'm good. But, and I love athletics and all of their forms and everything and all that stuff. And I've really, I ride a lot, and that's always been my main passion, but like, we have such a better, our mountain bike scene here in Humboldt. If anybody's, it's just amazing right now, dude, the riding and the opportunities we have. And so not like transitioning, but adding that to my quiver and riding my bicycle has been so cool to kind of fill the gaps where we don't have a local moto track, but we have like some of the most epic mountain biking trails on the West Coast here. So that's awesome. And like one of those things where like through riding and all those things, all those connections that come out of it, I think I have 3 jobs on the screen print board right now that are all through all my mountain bike buds. The Redwood Coast Mountain Bike Association, all the events and things I put on the race. So I'll be like racing the event and I'm a sponsor and I did the shirts and this and that. And like, that's, that's community and that's awesomeness, So I love all that stuff. So yeah. And then like even, being at the track and we're going to go out and race out in Reading this weekend. And like, that's just for fun, but you think I'm not making some connections when I'm there? You know what I mean? And especially with moto, it's not a cheap sport. So you are rubbing elbows with some people who can afford some shit, who are normally, maybe they're business owners or whatever. And so all of, it's all synergy. Like it all kind of comes around. So the moto and everything is my origin story. It got me into this line of work. I would have had no idea what any of this was kind of without it. Yeah, and it continues to kind of build it. And there's bikes laying around in the shop, and we're so stoked to live in Arcata where I can close up the shop at 5 and pedal my butt up to the forest and rip all these amazing trails. I got my dog with me. Like, we talked about, I think maybe before we were rolling about, living here and small town things and whatever it is. And like, I rolled out of my shop like an hour early because I don't have some corporate gig. And when I'm over it, I go home. I work my butt off. Like, make no mistake, I work a lot of hours, but it was too nice outside. So I pack it up. Come on, girl, grab the dog, ride up, do some laps up in the forest. Man, that's so epic. Like I wouldn't trade that for a higher paying la-di-da, you know what I mean? Or whatever, or work for some prestigious, even graphic design firm or whatever that it could be. When you really look at quality of life and you really look at the things that our area offers to be able to, I don't agree with a lot or many or whatever, like things and policies and things that come out of my little hometown here. But like, man, that's cool, to be in a small enough community where I'm giving hugs and handshakes and all of my clients, I love them and I know them on a personal level. I'm empowering their business. They're doing the same to me. And then I jump on my bike with my little dog and go and rip the trails right from my house or right from my house too. I can ride from my house. I can ride from the shop. And that's, you can't buy that.
It's hard to beat that.
That's just rad. And we were chatting just a little philosophical conversation with my wife. Like, oh, where would you go if you were going to be? We're here. Like, we are humble people. My grandparents live here. My aunts and uncles live here. My mom and dad live here. My brother and my sister and my friends. I'm here, right? But like, where else did you go? And I'm like, I'm literally just thinking about where else would I go? I'm thinking about dirt. Like, where else has good dirt? There's some great stuff, but like, yeah, man, we have it good here. Go. I don't surf, but you could surf. Hit the, we were up at Horse Mountain last year and ripping, just walking it and, and snowboarding up at Horse Mountain. You could see the ocean. Like, that's very unique. We do have a cool thing and going here. And like I said, I am very much, I guess, inherently a glasses half full thing. And like, dude, it's so cool. The Cal Poly thing has been really cool, keeping us really busy. The whole switchover, of course. And just being in a place where we have room to grow. I think more people here is going to be better, and you can see like whatever it is, climate's changing all through the pandemic and stuff. So many people moving up here and, you see license plates and tourists and people coming through and I'm having grown up here. I love it, man. I think more people, and especially like I said, like there was, and for all my single lady friends out there, like slim pickings, you got your grow bro or this or that. And it's a lot of homogenization, the same white dude with the same F-350. So it's cool that as town grows and the college grows and all these things are changing, that there is more diversity, more of a wider scope of businesses, and of interest and things. And all that to me is just creates opportunity for recreation and for work and all that cool stuff. So I think I'm stoked for the opportunities that my daughter has, whether she stays here or not or whatever. She seems like a city girl already. But yeah, I mean, she's got a pump track and a skate park and all these things right near our house that I never had. I was just out blowing up frogs or doing whatever little boys do out in the woods, barefoot, naked, running around, So yeah, I'm stoked on Humboldt for sure.
Yeah, we're in an interesting time right now.
Yeah.
It'll be kind of crazy to see what happens with with the wind farm, the fish farm, with Cal Poly.
Totally.
We're in an interesting spot right now.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a jump off. And I have many clients in the fisheries and stuff like that who are like, what the fuck? Like this farm's, dude, this shit's gnarly and it's bad. And I'm like, I get it, man. And I get like, there's pluses and minuses, but like to have a little bit more economic viability in our location, like I get it. Maybe those are not the best expressions of it, but like, dude, this place should be wealthy. Look at our natural resources and how we just get played. Just the water, the timber, the creatures, everything that we pull out of the earth that just leaves, and then you still have some broke ass people. I wish that more so that whole state of Jefferson vibe, that we could stand up for ourselves and utilize and take advantage of the natural resources that we do have here. We ride a lot in Blue Lake out of the Hatchery Ridge trails, and if anybody who's rode up there knows that as you get about halfway up the trail or something, there's like this picnic bench and this hole in the trees. And you just look out over Blue Lake, right? And I always go up there and I'm like, if I'm like a settler, if I'm in a wagon, or whatever, if I'm seeing that, I look down at that landscape and I go, oh yeah, we can make it work here, And that's awesome, because who knows at this point how long civilization is around even at this point or whatever. I mean, that's whatever. But I mean, yeah, to live in a naturally, gifted place where if shit hits the fan, it's going to be hard, but like, you can live off the land here. Like there's an abundance. Just deal with the cold, whatever.
Yeah, better to be up here if the world ends than 100%. LA or New York or any big city.
Yeah. Scientologists have that all figured out. That thing down in whatever.
Yeah.
Heard about that? Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, man. No, I'm it's all good.
Yeah.
All good. Only up and up and up from here. Trying to figure out what the next growth is. The other thing, the benefit and the issue of owning a business in Humboldt is we're in this place where now this business is solid. Like it ain't going nowhere. It's just about putting the pieces in place to continue to grow it. And, it's just finding that next kind of piece of real estate. It's kind of like my thing right now is how do I transition? I've owned my house since I was a kid. Like, how do I own the place where the business operates? And, we don't have a sprawl. We don't have a bunch of like vacant 10,000 square foot warehouses. There ain't shit really. So that's really that's the main thing where I'm up against, where I'm trying to figure out as far as growth and as far as offering my employees more and building my future is how do we own the place that the business operates in? And once again, it's Cali and like, it's so expensive to do anything. It's so expensive to build, and all that stuff. But man, there's just not a lot of, places out there for me. But good problem to have. We're growing. We want to keep looking forward, see what's next.
Yeah. And hopefully prices on everything will start coming down soon. And then that'll open some options.
Exactly. And I live outside of McKinleyville and the shop's in Arcata. And like, there is that whole zone out in Valley West that's like, got branded with all the weed stuff. And of course, everybody's greedy and tax these poor people out of their livelihood. It's just one more industry that they've killed. Just greed. But, I mean, I don't want to see anybody fail, but if that transitions and it gives us normal service industry job people a little bit of a place to be able to exist and to build things for our families, then like I'm in. I would love to do that and continue to grow it and continue to take on more people and all that kind of stuff and continue to raise the bar. But it's hard.
Yeah. It's a challenge, but it's a fun challenge.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would imagine.
Yeah, totally.
Well, Noah, thanks for doing this, man.
Hey, you're welcome.
I'll let you get out of here so you can go get your workout in. Do you want to plug all of your stuff, where people can find you, where they can find Visual Concepts?
Yeah. So we're in Arcata, where we've been located for over 10 years in the Creamery District of Arcata, right kind of behind the pub and behind the Arcata Playhouse. Cool little neighborhood. But yeah, check out our Instagram, Visual Concepts 707. That's probably whenever I have enough time, I'm on there a little bit, and our website and whatever. And just, you see something going down the road and you're like, oh, that looks nice. Yeah, that was us. Yeah, it looks like a turd. Hopefully that wasn't us. But yeah, that's it, man. You know, support local. Thanks for having me. That was fun.
Yeah,
I'm
thanks,
a big fan of the medium and never done anything really like this before. So yeah, thank you.
It was a lot of fun. Thanks
Fun
for
to
coming
talk.
on. We'll do it again.
Cheers. I'd love to.
All right.
All right, buddy.
Thanks,
Cheers.
man.
Yeah.